Did not have anything specific. Any specific fields. We're playing a Ruby Wild Gladiators deck that K-Smith there in chat brewed up and sent the donation for us to play. So one of the things you'll notice here in Hex is that on each side of the field, my opponent and I have different portraits here. And the portrait isn't just cosmetic. It affects a couple different things. The first thing it affects is our starting life total. You see, I start with 22 life while my opponent starts with 21. And then our champions each have a different activated ability that you can use every time you play so many lands or resource cards out. So my champion, for 4 charges, I can give one of my troops +3/+3 in Crush, which is like Trample until end of turn. And my opponent's champion flips the bottom 3 cards of their deck into their discard pile, and then returns one of the cards from the discard pile at random to their hand. There are different shards in Hex that are like the 5, that are similar to the 5 colors of Magic. So you can see this card that I've played here is a dual shard card. It requires 2 resources to play and requires that I've played a Ruby and a Wild resource out. You can see I've played a total of 2 resources down here, one of which was Wild and one of which was Ruby. There are instances in Hex. So you can see, actually, this is a quick card. So any card that's marked as quick, you can play in response to things. You can see when my opponent plays a card out here, it goes into the center of the screen onto the chain, and I have a chance to respond to this with quick cards if I have resources available to play them. So my opponent's played a Rune Ire Hierophant, so this is kind of a neat card. It is a customizable card. These 2 different things here are called gems. And what the gems are is this card will be different depending on what my opponent wants it to do. They pick starting gems for it that it'll have for the first game, and they can change the gems in the post-board game. So like while they're sideboarding, they can change the customizations that this card has, and depending on what shards or colors are in your deck, this card will do different things. Nope, they're going to be weekly going forward, Pythagorean. So every Saturday there'll be a $1,000 cash tournament that you can play in Hex's standard constructed format. Has a $7 entry fee and pays out $1,000 in cash to the top 4 players. And then pays out additional in-game prizes to places 5 through 32. And those prizes scale. It's really weird. The prizes scale based on how many people are playing in the tournament. So if the tournaments are huge, they've hit like 300 or 400 people, they start paying out to like top 64 with stuff. There is a chest lock. It's actually hidden behind my deck list here on screen because usually that's not terribly relevant. So you can see I have 28 minutes and my opponent has 29 minutes currently. So I have a 3-2 with Crush. When this dies, they get 2 troops. I think I'm going to go ahead and attack in with this. This Piledrive can power this up. But Jeff, gambling laws, right? You can't do stuff like that. There's gambling laws. This is crazy. So Zoltog of the Pack is a unique troop, which is like legendary. And it's a 6/4 that says when this attacks for the first time each turn, we ready each troop we control with Gladiator and then get additional combat step. My opponent's card that they played flips the bottom 3 cards of their deck into their discard pile and then gives them all resources. So they just drew the 2 resources they revealed. And then this, my opponent's champion power, got a random resource out of the discard pile back to their hand. Which is pretty lucky for us, because there were 3 non-resources in here, so they got the worst one of the bunch. Ready is untapped, that is correct. A lot of the words that sound like they should mean one thing generally mean the things they sound like they should mean. We'll play, so this Zoltog of the Pack requires 4 resources. It requires I've played 2 rubies, so I'm going to go ahead and play this Well of Savagery out here for our 2nd ruby threshold. They want treats. I have Doritos down here. Okay. Hi, monster.
Daddy has treats. Daddy has your treats.
I'm gonna go ahead and attack with my Feralfuel Packhunter here.
Tell Daddy treats.
I strangled my dork, which gives it -4/-4, which kills it. You want Tootsie Roll? Mm-hmm. Stop it. Seriously, get those away from here. Thank you. Treats. Declan, here. You want your Tootsie Roll? Treat. Yeah, there you go. Declan just learned the word treat and we're using it a lot.
He wants the Starburst.
Okay, give him the Starburst then.
Okay, Jake wants a treat too.
Would you like Doritos?
I figured you already had both of them.
We actually have a counter of using, yep. We have a counter going for when I use the incorrect terms. I feel like we've drawn a couple too many resources here. So, one of the things Hex does that's different from Magic is because it's an all-digital game, they use the digital design space to mitigate variance in a couple of kind of interesting ways. But, there are still resources in our deck, and sometimes you're just going to draw a couple too many, and then you're going to die because of it. One of the things that's nice about Hex, is I mentioned this because it's nice compared to Magic, is that Hex's opening hand algorithm is not completely random. So Hex uses a modified hypergeometric distribution to reduce the amount of non-games basically that you have. It takes away the 10% most resource light hands and 5% most resource dense hands. Basically everyone mulligans 15% less. What's the rough cost of playing this game? So like every modern digital TCG, you can play Hex completely for free should you want to. So you could put $0 in and just grind the in-game currency if you'd like. Tier 1 decks in Hex tend to range from $50 to $150 depending on the season. Hex is a full trading card game, so it's not just a giant cash-grabbing CCG that's trying to get you to vomit money into it, so that way it keeps your money and leaves you trapped. So Hex has quality gameplay, so you can buy, sell, and trade all of your stuff. They're not worried about you leaving. Most people, when they try it, they stick with it. I keep a list of competitive budget Hex decks here. And these range starting, I think the cheapest one's a little bit under $20, and the most expensive is a Tier 1 deck. It's about $100. So, budget varies depending on what your definition of budget is. You want Tootsie Roll? You want this? You want these? Okay, you want the other Doritos. We want to play this Ruby Ice out here, and what Ice does, Ice is something that utilizes the digital design space, so I get to Fate Weave here, which is kind of like a super scry. So I choose whether or not I want there to be a resource or non-resource on top of my deck, and then it stacks my deck here accordingly. Correct, this is not Magic. This is a game called Hex Shards of Fate. It's basically Magic Plus. This is what Magic would be if Magic was designed in 2015 or 2017 instead of being created in the 90s. Blight Blossom. Yeah, the card's really annoying. So when this dies, it summons 2 1/1s. This matchup seems like it's probably pretty tough for us. I have a brief primer here talking about some of the key differences between Hex and Magic, but a lot of the things that feel natural to you coming from Magic will feel natural here as well. So there's resources. The biggest difference is the resource system. Instead of having lands that I have to like be cumbersome and like tap individually, I just have a total resource pool and a total number of colors that I've played for each of my resources for the turn. So I don't have to like keep track of, like when I play this card, I don't have to explicitly tap a green land and then tap another land of any color. I just like lose 2 resources in my pool that'll come back starting next turn. How much does this deck cost that I'm playing? No idea. Let me look at my TCG browser. So Hex has an API. So like when I hit save in the deck list, I get that nifty little deck list on the side of my screen. My TCG browser estimates this deck costs $96, and I'd bet a large portion of that is Rune Ire Hierophant. There are chase staples in this game, so Rune Ire Hierophants are about $12 each, and we're playing 4 of those, so half of that $96 is for Rune Ire Hierophants. I think, arguably, Redlings is one of the best decks in the current standard format. So I don't think Redlings, I don't think Rune Ire Hierophant decks are better. I think, objectively speaking, Redlings is probably the best deck in the current constructed format. So Loki of the pack here has an ability that once per turn, I can activate him to threaten and gain control of one of my opponent's troops and give it Gladiator 1. And then the turn this comes into play, I get to use this effect for free. So I think I'm going to go ahead and give my Loki Crush here, and then crunch in with my squad. Attack with these two. Opponent just takes the hit. Okay, with these Piledrives, we might be able to steal this game. So Piledrive is a quick action that gives my troop +2/+2, and if it has Gladiator, it gives it a bonus +2/+2. So these are like +8 between the two of them sitting here in my hand, potentially. So their Cottontail Explorer did not hit any resources, so get wrecked. It would be a good time to get in as far as rotation goes. So Hex rotates their 2 oldest sets every other set release, and they release a set every 4.5 to 5 months. So when set 8 comes out about 3.5, 4 months from now, sets 3 and 4 will rotate. If you're looking to get into Hex right now to play their cash tournaments that happen every Saturday now, the only 2 cards I would recommend not buying are Transmogrifade and Rune Hierophant. Those are basically the only 2 really expensive staples from set 3 and set 4 that see a lot of regular play. I'm going to go ahead and borrow their Dork here again, and then go ahead and attack with it. Oh, this has to attack every turn. That's gross. I did not realize that. I can Piledrive this to pump him up, though. Piledrive does not give Crush. Yes, so Hex has what they call their core commons and uncommons, and those are cards that get reprinted across all sets. There's a couple like Verdict of the Ancient Kings, which is basically a negate. There's a few others in there. I don't think they've reprinted any rares or legendaries yet, but I imagine they probably will at some point. Dirtle plays Transmogrifade. Strangling my Loki the Pack. That's rude. Well, kind of at a standstill here. This deck probably isn't particularly good against these decks that really gum up the board like my opponent's does. Our control deck's any good? Yep, Sapphire Diamond Control is arguably in contention for the second best deck in the format right now. Redlings, which is a Blood Ruby aggressive deck, is probably the strongest deck, but it also has a bad matchup against the Sapphire Diamond Control deck. The Sapphire Diamond Control deck is arguably one of the most powerful metagame decks in the format. It's very good against all of the decks that are really good. Our chances to win this game are basically 0, I think. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and pop on over to the next match. Hopefully get something that doesn't clog the board quite as much as that. So this deck I'm playing right now, what I'm playing right now, it's not a tiered deck. This is a donation deck list. So K-Smith has been working on this deck idea, and we sent over a $5 donation to play it through 5 matches here. Want me to wipe your hands, Jacob? This matchup's probably going to be better for us. Cursed. So one of the things I really like about Hex is that the champion gives you information before you even start playing the game. So the champion that my opponent is playing is a Ruby champion that's a little bit on the aggressive side. So my opponent is likely playing a Ruby aggressive deck. For 6 charges, they get to summon 2 3/1s with speed that only lasts for a turn. So basically, 6 charges crack us for 6. So it kind of gives us, it lets us make informed mulliganing decisions. It actually makes control decks really powerful, because a lot of times control decks and mid-range decks, you lose games because you keep a hand that's like, has the wrong half problem, right? Like you keep a hand that's like good against a mid-range or a control deck, but then your opponent's playing an aggressive deck game 1 and you just like lose a game you never had a chance to even play really because you just kept the wrong half of your deck. So you get to make educated, informed mulligan decisions in game 1, which is kind of awesome. Would you like some more, Declan? So Hex, unlike WotC, one of the reasons why I give WotC so much crap for hiding data is because Hex doesn't hide any of the data. If you go to hexpvptools.com, you can see literally every ranked match of Hex that's ever been played. and just check it out for yourself and see, okay, what's good, bad, or otherwise based on what people are actually playing. They create some aggregate data on that site. Huh. Maybe I was supposed to wait to play this. So I have this Rise to the Challenge, which gives one of my troops +2/+2 in speed till end of turn. So I could have played a Slow Shard. Yeah, this was a mistake, the way I sequenced this. So this has double damage in Gladiator. So next turn, I could have, if I would have played a Slow Shard this turn, I could have gone Rune Ire, Rise to the Challenge, plus Champ Power. I might kill them anyways here, the way things ended up working out. I mean, I am a shill net decker, though, Immortal. You have to understand. So, this Rune Ire, so my opponent's Rune Ire's last game had the ability to make troops when they died. My Rune Ire has Gladiator and deals double damage. So it's a little bit different than my opponent's from last game. You got that? There's no more Starburst, dude. So, I'm going to go ahead and Primordial Sabretooth, deal 5 damage here. And then I can Rise to the Challenge this. And then I can Champ Power it. So this is an 8/8 that deals double damage. So they have to block something here. The Reanimator deck's fine as Elwyn's. So they go to 3, which is decent. That means this Loki of the pack coming down and stealing one of their troop structures is probably going to be pretty good if we had a resource. Worst case, we could use the Sabretooth. Sabretooth's a good modal card. So it's a 5/4 for 7 with speed that when it comes into play, it deals 5 damage to something. Or we can pay 2 and reveal it from our hand and deal 5 damage to something and shuffle it back into our deck. Sorry, place it back into our deck. Hex is digital, so it doesn't have to shuffle. Alright, so they're just going to be dead to this removal spell here. So kill that, and then attack with these two. Like I said, I expected a matchup like this to go a lot better for us than one like the last one where my opponent had the ability to gum the board up. Alright, what am I doing here? So their deck probably has a lot of aggressive troops in it. I guess this actually doesn't kill that much. Huh. My board really doesn't have much for this matchup. Carnasaurus might be okay, but we really didn't see too many troops that it killed. Like, they had, like, O3s and stuff, so I'm going to wait on this. This is a 2/2 for 2 that when it comes into play, it fights something. Here, what do you want, Jacob? You don't need to climb over. Okay, you want to climb over anyways? Can you show me what you want? You want more Gatorade? Okay, there's Gatorade in there, but I will pour more in for you. What does Gladiator do? Gladiator is a mechanic that if a troop has Gladiator 1, it gets +1 power on my turn and +1 defense on my opponent's turn. Seems a little slow, but it's probably fine. Alright, I'm just going to leave this gate open since you kids are just jumping over it anyways. Gentle Giant 81 with the brand new $4.99 a month subscription. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Subscriptions are the best way you could support my content here, so welcome and thank you for that next level of support. You want to come sit by Papa? Dad loves Declan. Even if you are a disaster zone. Walking, talking disaster zone. Yes, I am super pumped to have a weekly cash tournament for Hex's constructed format. Like, Hex consistently has awesome standard formats. I've been playing since just before Set 4 release, so I've played, what, 5 Hex standard formats now? And they've just been constantly awesome. So to have a chance to play those every single weekend for significant prizes is exciting. So these cards, every time my opponent plays an Ardent troop, which this says Ardent here, it creates a random wine and puts it into my opponent's hand. There's a couple different wines. Wine 'em and dine 'em. Alright, we'd like to draw a resource next turn so we could go second Rune Ire into Rise to the challenge. Dragon Valley Reserves. Each champion draws 2 cards. Deal. Ding, ding, ding. Found some resources here. So you can see here, my Gladiator troops here, this is a 2-3 on their turn, but it'll be a 3-2 on my turn. Same thing, this is a 1-2 on my turn, on their turn, and a 2-1 on my turn. So they have a ton of cards in hand. I'm sure they're going to discard some excess wide here. Deck overlays blocking their charges. Fixed. Alright, so I'm going to play this out. I'm going to play this Rune Ire. I think I'm going to Rise to the challenge this and just crack in here. I feel like I'm not in danger of dying here, so I'm just going to crack with all of them. Hi, dude. Hi. Yes, I love you. Seems like a good trade for us. We get rid of both of these and we crack them for 16. Get off of me, you tiny, tiny toddler brat. Ugh. So it takes a majority of their pressure off the table and still leaves us with 2 reasonable troops here. And takes a giant chunk out of their life total. Big, big, beefy Rune Ire. Hopefully this Loki in the pack gets to come down and punch through whatever they put up as a blocker this turn. Okay, let's see what they do here. So that makes a Valor for them. They have a bunch of Valors in their hand, right? Because each of these made a Valor as well. And this says whenever they play a Valor, they get to deal 3 damage or something. So I actually get to go ahead and kind of use my Gladiator as a trick here. This can sacrifice to give something +1 Gladiator, which is going to increase the defense of this to 4 for the turn. Actually not. Oh, I was gonna say we're not in a great spot, but then we drew Sabretooth to kill this, so we should be okay. Unless if they have a resource and another Heart of Embers, we could be in trouble. I'm gonna go ahead and attack with this Rune Ire Hierophant. To Fate Weave here, and I don't need another resource at this point, so I'm gonna guarantee we draw a non-resource next turn. Pyre Strike, rude. So Torchwing Ace is a 5-drop we haven't played yet. It's a 1-3 with Gladiator 3 in flight, and when this deals combat damage, it deals that much damage to a random opposing champion or troop. Huh. So they made that larger. I'm just gonna play the Torchwing Ace out here as a 1-6. So this Ashwood's Infidel gives one of their troops +1 power for each wine in their crypt and crush permanently. So they've got 1, 2, 3. They had 4, 5 wines in their crypt, so this is a 5-3. Get random, right? Please, please, Jesus, take the... Did I miss lethal? I might have missed lethal. Was this lethal? No, they could have blocked with that. Yeah, okay. Well, that being a 7-5 means it still dies to the Sabretooth, which is good for us. So this is a free block. And now I have to decide, do I want a Sabretooth or do I want a Loki of the pack? And now I'm kind of sad I didn't put a Piledrive. That should just kill them, right? Yeah, that's actually lethal. Yep. So if I do this, this grabs control of the Rune Ire Hierophant. And then one of these two is going to hit my opponent, and then I can Piledrive this, which makes it an 8. So, yeah, got him. Sweet. Trixie. Cue up another one here. And Hex's constructed ladder is completely free to play. You earn packs as you work your way from the bronze ranking all the way up to Cosmic. And then when you're in Cosmic, you get a ranking. So you can see here, I'm currently ranked 32nd of all the Cosmic players in the constructed side of the ladder. And at the end of every 2-month season, the top 64 players of the constructed and limited ladder get invited to a $5,000 cash tournament that everyone actually gets some prizes for because you qualified for it. That is invite only, so it's kind of sweet. Like, I can't remember the last time I played a Magic 5K that had less than, less than 8 rounds. And do this and grab a wild. How do you get singles in this game? So Hex is a full buy-sell trade secondary market. So actually this banner ad up here over there for hexprimal.com. Hex Primal is a third-party Hex singles reseller. Kind of think of them as the MTGO traders or Star City Games of Hex Shards of Fate. And you can just go there and give them your dollars, fill the shopping cart, or they have when you create an account that for free, you get cards to start in the account, and they have a full PvE kind of RPG type experience in the single player game. You can work your way through that as well if you prefer to grind the currency and not put in actual dollars. It sounds like Declan has escaped upstairs. I'll be right back. I'm going to go reclaim him. There's also an in-game auction house where you can buy and sell your own things. I don't think I want to rise to the challenge this because I really don't want to trade this with their Emperor's Lackey. Just going to go ahead and pass the turn here. Hopefully they don't have a removal spell for this. If they have a removal spell for this, we might be in a little bit of trouble. Actually, hopefully if they have a removal spell, it's Strangle. And we'll get to Piledrive to pump it up. Pump it up. So my opponent's champion for 3 charges lets them sacrifice a troop. And if they do, they draw a card and gain 3 life. Gruesome Deed. Yep, that's rude. That lets them sacrifice the troop to kill my thing. The next CCS qualification season is this current month. That's correct. So, ends at the last calendar day of this month at midnight PST for the West Coast. It feels kind of bad. Oh, I messed up here. This can pay 3 resources to make a 1/1 that attacks for a turn. So I should have done that since I don't have anything else to do. The CCS is a $5,000 cash tournament that the top 64 players in each ladder qualify for to play. Jody? So it pays $5K in cash to the top 8 players and then packs to everyone else. And their ladder seasons are 2 months long. Yes, you're very loud. You're stuck down here on purpose. It is not by mistake that you are stuck down here. Alright, perfect. Ruby is great. Lets us play our Torchwings out here. And Torchwing plus Piledrive could, like, insta-gib our opponent if we're lucky. Ooh, Dad needs to change a diaper, huh? Yeah, the Sapphire Diamond control deck is very, very powerful. I'll be right back. I need to duck out and change a diaper. Well, that turn could have gone better for us. We're taking 4 here. Hopefully we rip a non-slow shard next turn so we can go Torchwing Ace into Rise to the Challenge so we can get its speed and giddy on up. Loki of the pack. Yeah, let's just do that. Alright, so Loki is going to get in here. And he's going to grab this paw if as you can. I did miss 1 point of damage this game, which could end up being lethal. So, if our opponent lives at 1 life this game, it's because I missed a point on a Dreadling earlier. And now that they're taking this hit for 8 here, this Torchwing could realistically come down and kill them next turn if we hit the resource to Rise to the Challenge it. That's a really aggressive attack, so that means they have removal for this. They must have removal for this, right? Hopefully they pull the trigger on it now, and then we can rip a resource and then kill them with Torchwing Ace. Oh, they just have that to make... Okay, that makes sense, I guess. That's a slow shard. Put another resource on top of my deck here. I gained 3 life off of that too. Man, what am I doing here? If I attack with this, I have these 2 blockers back for next turn. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and attack with this, I think. We have to. How's this deck been panning out? It seems pretty poor against these Blood Wild mid-range decks. Like, Blight Blossoms and stuff like that are just, like, give decks like this fits. They just, like, go up the ground and we don't have anything like Gladscar's Vengeance to, like, punch through. This will be a 1/6 here in a second, so if they don't have a removal spell for it, we could be okay. Have their second paw as you can. So I'm obligated to chump block here, and then I Fate Weaved a resource to the top of my deck, so I'm dead. Why did I Fate Weave a resource? Because I'm stupid. Burning Ire gets to come in. Trim a Zoltog. I'm just gonna trim... Oh, Pack Buell's pretty bad. So it just comes... They just come up the ground. Let's do that. This hand's okay, but these shards... Maybe this is a mulligan just because these shards... None of these shards make a temporary resource, so basically think of them all as coming to play tapped land. That's what the 0 here means. Now, you see, I'm not even sure you need Transmog. If you have Runebind or Evaporate, like, both of those are pretty reasonable cards in that same type of slot. We have a non-resource to the top here. Did my thing not update? My thing didn't update. Oh, I forgot to change the game. I forgot to change the game. Whoops. I updated the title and not the game. Thank you. Thank you, Alzik. We were playing Magic this morning. Put a non-resource on top with this again. And again, just like these start coming down and the ground gets gummed up, and I feel like I just can't do anything. Like if a Rune comes down, it's like I have another thing that makes bigger things, gums the ground up further. Yep, and this dies, it makes two things. Well, that's decent. Yeah, Torchwing, and yeah, you gotta like fly over and like hope they don't have removal for it, basically. I guess we could theoretically like punch through with a big Rune Ire, but it feels like without, so like I played a lot of Surging Wildfire Rune Ire double damage deck with like Righteous Outlaw and stuff last season. It feels like without Surging Wildfire in addition to Rune Ire to like randomly punch through for double damage and kill them, this matchup feels really hard. And like not having Swift Strike on the Rune Ire makes it much worse in these creature combat type matchups because they can just like, you can't attack into things profitably without the Swift Strike double damage on it. Block your 2-power guy. So long, Packhunter. Alright, I guess I get to do this. And fight their 1-1. And then I can rise to the challenge and attack. Get in some points of damage. This Burning Ire is a little bit of reach. It gets to deal 3 damage to something, and then 3 damage to them as well. Again, we're kind of just waiting on a Torchwing or a Rune Ire to kind of punch through. And there's a 4/4. That's fair. I don't think we're going to win this game, but can block here at least. If we play another match against Bloodwild, we'll put Swift Strike in a post board. And like, they're at 14 here, but like one more resource and they go up to 17. I don't really have profitable attack, so I guess I'm just like making 2 things with this and like chipping in for 1. We're holding this rise to the challenge in case we hit a Torchwing to try and steal the game that way in the air. Or a Rune Ire can kind of steal the game with it. I definitely like Rise to the Challenge. It kind of feels like a kind of sweet extra getcha moment. So this says they trigger their death cries when they enter play, so yep, that's when I'm going to eat a Burning Ire next turn. No, so this card, you can see this says here, this is a basic action, so basic you can only use at any time you can play a sorcery, basically, if you're coming for magic, and then quick you can use on their turn in response to things. Stu! With the 13-month resubscription, thank you for the continued support, I do appreciate it. Welcome back, it's a long time, over a year. You want more? Big bucks, no Rune Ire. Big bucks, no Rune Ire. Hopefully get this Lord Blightbark off the table before. Transmogs are pretty important to that deck. Yeah, if you could just pump out blockers, it would be kind of insane. You and me both. Alright. Back to hoping to draw a Rune Ire or a Torchwing, so we can rise to the challenge and then crack in. Alright, another Burning Ire, I suppose. Burn it to the ground. Come on! God, we're so dead. Yeah, we just... Yeah, we're dead. But hey! Testing decks. Not down dollars and dollars and dollars and dollars, which is nice. Which is very nice. Prefer to not spew all of my stuff when we're testing. Matman! Here's to being so dead. Welcome back and thank you for the continued support. 15 months is a long time. Heading slowly on closer to that bloodshot. 2-year anniversary. Would she have to take? I have no idea. Probably a large number. I think bringing back the Constructed Gauntlet in a different format like Immortal would be reasonable, but I don't think they should run a Constructed Gauntlet in addition to the latter. I think that's a recipe for failure. I think for Immortal or Rock or like some other different format, right? Yeah, 2 modes is 23 months. It was resubbed last night. Playing against McBombus this round. So opponent's champion for 3 charges. If they've played an action this turn, it summons a Bumblebot, which is a 1/1 with flight and speed. Yeah, Fate Weave's a busted mechanic, right? Just like, alright, guarantee I'm gonna draw a resource next turn. Sign me up. That's a little awkward. We were hoping to draw a wild, but at least we got another Ruby Ice, so we can seek fortune again here, get another resource next turn. Bombus still sees some amount of play. I thought I remember seeing it. Yeah, it's literally on the constructed ladder meta list, Jid. It's got 52 matches. That's fine. I didn't want a Ruby anyways. Now I can draw a wild. So this card, when it comes into play, it buried a card off the top of my deck, so it messed with my Fate Weave. Yeah! Skill game. Probably we get hit another resource next turn, get to Torchwing Ace it up. Yeah, Alter, they said it's going to be an evergreen mechanic, essentially. There's a mechanic that's going to be across all sets. Hey, Mokag. Yellow Hat! Welcome to folks coming over from Deceived Stream. We're currently playing Hex Shards of Fate, which is a fully digital TCG that's very similar to Magic. It is a really awesome competitive tournament scene. They have back-to-back $1,000 cash tournaments that you can play every single weekend. Their constructed tournament costs a whopping $7 to enter. You just need a deck to play. And they're sealed. Their limited tournament costs $15 to enter and includes 6 packs of cards that you get to keep. A lot of fun, very similar to Magic. Uses the digital design space to improve on some of the mistakes that Magic has. Some of the frustrating aspects Magic has. Boo, earn. So missing our 5-drop still. So land new pause side, you see the animation going towards my opponent deck. This is kind of a delayed draw 3. So the next action, resource, and troop in your deck get when you play this, draw a card. And then Consult the Talons is a draw 3 now. It costs 7 normally, but it has the mechanic Mobilize times 3. So they can exhaust 3 troops they control to make this card cost 6 cheaper. Yeah, right? Oh, this deck is so clunky. It's very, very clunky. Yeah, he gets to attack with this Pack Mule, I guess. Hopefully we're not going to get Lasgard next turn. My opponent just, like, draw 9 extra cards this game. Just casually. Oh, I didn't. Well, I forgot to sacrifice my Pack Mule to give this Gladiator. Whoops. So I could have made this an 0-4. This could sacrifice to give one of my troops Gladiator 1. They've drawn so many more cards than me. Even if we somehow win this game, our opponent has the moral victory. Actually just dead. Yeah, but like, we wouldn't have hit our wild on time then either. Like, we only hit our wild on time because they build over a Ruby. We Fate Weave to the top. Riposte seems great. Karn seems great. So I think one of the problems with this deck, K-Smith, is that this card just isn't well positioned right now. It's the same reason why Deathseeker's kind of met in Redlings, and like we only play Deathseeker in Redlings because like we're trying to enable the Necrotic Shard, and it's like okay there. Like there's so many random 1/1s and Warp Steel Shardsworns and stuff like that, and like Blight Blossoms that just like make this card feel really terrible. It's like I'm not getting a card's worth of stuff out of this card in most games. I'm just going to trim a Piledrive as opposed to a Rise to the Challenge. I feel like Rise to the Challenge can let me get him. Yeah, Deathseeker has scrounge value as well. I think Sabretooth is less bad than these other cards I have up here in the reserves. Like, I can cast this when we flood out. Yeah, that would probably be an okay swap. I wouldn't hate... I think a couple more ice is probably reasonable, too. I think a deck like this, I wouldn't be too surprised if we get a null racial shard in the next set, in set 8. I feel like additional fixing is something this deck really wants. Not only could you play less slow shards then, but like the fact that we're trying to play like wild cards or a wild champion and double ruby cards kind of like stresses like things that we're able to do, which like affects the consistency of the deck. Not only in the tempo loss from playing so many slow shards, but also because, like, sometimes we're not able to do our things on curve because of the threshold requirements our cards have. So Feralfuel Packhunter is a 3-2 with Crush. It gives our Gladiator to bonuses to plus attack and defense. Normally, Gladiators only attack or defense, depending on whose turn it is. Yeah, hitting the first, like, 4 to 5 resource drops is pretty important, he says as he misses again. Like, if that slow shard that we played on one had been an ice, like, we'd have hit a 3rd resource guaranteed this game instead of missing here. We'll push a couple things around for the 2nd game, or the 5th match here. Evaporate! That's rude. Takes one of my troops and puts it back in my hand. Yep. Delete draw 3. Hit their champion power, Kraken for 1 most likely. Alright, well, we got Pack Hunters. Your 3-2 beaters will be able to get there. They're going the distance. They're going for speed. They got it on a flickering gobbler. So this card's a 2-2 with flight, speed, and rage 1. So every time it attacks, it gains +1 power permanently. At the end of every turn, if my opponent played an action, this goes back to their hand. So basically, they get to keep replaying it and keep re-triggering the extra draw off of it. Alright, play this and hope to kill them next turn. Don't Lasgar's Vengeance be, bro. Did you poop, child? No. Are you lying to me? This feels like I'm casting a 4-cost Lasgar's Vengeance. So Lasgar's Vengeance starts at costing 8, and then every time they attack with a troop, it gets -1 cost. And then it gets... Maybe I'm supposed to have just held up a Piledrive here. Yeah, maybe I was wrong to have played that out and should have just held up a Piledrive there. I'd buy that for $1. And then, like, this turn, I'd have been able to play the other one and then rise to the challenge and attack for a bunch. Yeah, I think that was incorrect. I think I should have held up the Piledrive there to protect from the Lasgar's Vengeance that it really felt like they had, based on how their play had gone so far. Am I dead? Alright. Yep, we're dead. So for those who aren't familiar with Sunsoul Phoenix, it costs them 2 less to play for every action they've played that turn. So they played a bunch of actions, so the Sunsoul Phoenix was free. Get some ice in here. I'm going to trim these for Wildfire. That was action-oriented, right? Let's give this a try. I'm going to get the match queuing, but I'm going to run and change a diaper because I'm pretty sure Declan lied and he is pooping. Or pooped. Yeah, the key to making something like Mind Call good, it feels like, is like getting more than 2 resource ramp out of it, basically, right? So like by putting it on Flickering Gobbler or a Combat Trainer, you get to like get 3, 4, 5, even 6 resources out of it, essentially. It's like a super ritual that you spread out over the course of a few turns. Howdy, Polly. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out here this morning. I really appreciate it. Remember, if you're enjoying the stream, use that follow button. It doesn't cost you anything, helps other people find my stuff. If you're really enjoying what you see, please consider subscribing on Twitch or becoming a patron on Patreon, or check out sponsors. InkedGaming.com can help you customize your gaming experience. They do custom playmats and mount pads and stuff like that. You can save 12% off all your purchases using code Jeff12 at InkedGaming.com. HexPrimal.com can also is interested in buying and selling Hex CCG cards with you. If you use code Jeff5 at checkout there, you'll save 5% on all of your singles orders from them. Both of those help support the content that I'm able to produce here, so thank you for that. Is Turbo PA considered a combo deck? Kind of. It's a combo control deck, right? Seems okay. It's got Primordial Sabretooth to interact with whatever my opponent's first troop is. Then we've got some Surging Wildfires to bring the beat down. We've got a Wild Ice here that will guarantee our 4th resource drop. And since we hit a resource already, I'm going to guarantee a non-resource with this for next turn. Maybe find a 2 or a 3 drop to play before we play Surging Wildfire. No plays on 1 or 2 from them is great for us. So my opponent's playing a champion that we have that's a perfect draw. Little ramp us into Surging Wildfire early. My opponent's champion for 4 charges draws them a card, and if it's not a resource, it adds line of text to them at the end of your turn. If this is in your hand, discard it. So basically, it draws them a card they have to play that turn. They do not get to know if I choose resource or non-resource. Mesmeric Chance. Probably some kind of Fury Chant deck. Yeah, almost certainly a Fury Chant deck. I think that will shake up or solidify the meta. I think you're going to see the decks that we commonly accept as the best decks in the format become more tuned. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some... Hold on one second. My children are destroying things. All they do is break stuff. It's literally the only thing they do. Sorry. Anywho, to finish my thought, I think all of the decks that we see commonly accepted as the good decks in Hex, we will see them become more solidified and see a little bit more tuning happen towards them. Is Surging Wildfire lethal? Not quite, right? It just hits for a lot. I'm going to guaranteed get my hit in for a lot. So we're going to go ahead and do this. And then we're going to Piledrive it, give it +2/+2. And then we're going to attack with it for a good clean 14 ball here. Because when this attacks, it deals damage equal to its power to my opponent directly. So it attacks, chucks for 7, and then it is crushed, so it chucks for another 7 here. So I would expect decks like Redlings and Sapphire Diamond Control to become a little bit more focused. I'm excited to see what comes out, like, because right now we see things like Bombus and stuff like that in the ladder meta, and it's like, well, a lot of those decks are more popular than they would otherwise be because they're faster, because the ladder rewards winning games quickly as opposed to just having a good win rate. So we'll see, we'll get a little bit more data on which of the slower decks that have a good win rate are consistently good or not. Their Mesmeric Chance hit both of my Surging Wildfires, it's really lucky. So these say they stun a random opposing troop whenever a constant enters play under their control. So that stunned my 2 dorks. It's unfortunate for me. Torchwing Ace. Yeah, I guess I'm just playing that out, right? Put a non-resource on top of my deck. Draw another card. If they draw some more runic cards, they could possibly tempo us out of these games with these mesmeric chants. Hopefully my children don't murder each other. I have 10 points of power here so far. We're at 13. Runic Missile, yep. It did 1 damage to me. Alright, that's good for us. So, they didn't stun all my guys. So, this is probably going to be lethal next turn. Especially when I play this resource and the Primordial Sabretooth shoots something down. Actually, this just gets to shoot this down, and then this trigger plus my Torchwing Ace will be lethal. Hey! This is a pretty free block here. They have Lasgars, I'm dead either way, so might as well. Oh, Loki of the pack is fun. This is definitely the more fun route to victory. I think the prizes outside of the top 4 places are reasonable. I would really like it if they would make the battle boards tradable, because if they made the battle boards tradable that you get for top 8ing, it would make the prize for top 8ing significantly better, especially for the people that aren't in the cash finishes. The promo choice is a great one. They picked a card that has a lot of constructed playability, which is great. They don't seem to have a lot of individual things. I'm going to trim these Sabretooths, I think, and bring in Karns. These eat candles and come down faster and leave a body behind and gain some life, so I think that's fine. I don't think I want Riposte. Yeah, I think there's a lot of collectors and people that would like be willing to pay money for these battle boards that you have to get for top 8ing tournaments. It would also make the second time you top 8 worth a little bit different money. Like, even if you were able to get like 10 or 20 or even $30 for this battle board, right? Like, there aren't a lot of them. I think the promos, picking playable promos is important. Like, that promo will probably be, you know, $5 to $10 at least, which is reasonable. It means for a $7 tournament, like, if you top 16, you're getting a new entry back in, you're getting a battle board, you're getting sleeves, you know, stuff like that. You don't get a battle board for 16, sorry. It's okay. It's a little clunky. Kind of want a 2 or a 3 to round it out. Wild Ice, alright. Fate Weave a non-resource to the top. God, they're just murdering each other. Why? Children. Yeah, but like having watch text grow over like the last 2 years, Corey isn't too proud to like change his mind and say I was wrong and we're gonna do something different. Yeah, that's a reasonable thing too, Hex Hunter. Like, you can't actually use the item until... Huh. Yeah, I'm just gonna play this out this turn. It'll be a 2-3. I think that's a reasonable idea. Like, you get, like, a token that says crack this, and then you get an untradeable sleeve or untradeable battle board. And then, like, you could sell the token or trade the token or list the token. So, like, once you've used it, that's it. That's done. I think that's a very reasonable approach to it, too. Alright, well, Surging Wildfire is a good draw. I'm not going to champion power this because I could have something like a Transmogrifate or a Pyre Strike here, and I don't want to lose my champion power to that too if they have one of those things. Or an Evaporate, sure. They have a lot of things that could just interact with it there. Hex does not have the ability to be played on mobile currently. They'll probably bring it to Android tablets at some point, but honestly, like, so a lot of the TCGs and CCGs, there aren't even TCGs, all the CCGs on mobile, like, in general, they lack, what's the word I'm looking for? They lack a lot of the complexity that Hex has. And, like, the boards in Hex get really big, just like boards get big in Magic, etc. So, like, a lot of those CCGs, like, Eternal's the closest thing to Magic or Hex that's on the mobile, and, like, they have a limit to how many troops you can have in play to make it playable on mobile. I agree, Hex Hunter. Alright, I have one card left in their hand. I'm just gonna go ahead and champ power this. Alright, try and 14 you. You have another Evaporator or Transmog here to punish me? That'll be pretty punishing if you do. My opponent commented I messed up a little bit. They should have waited until I entered combat, so that way I couldn't use my champion power there. They evaporated during my main phase. So a little bit of a sequencing mistake on their part for sure. Things like card art and UI, those are subjective, right? The only thing that's like objective for mobile is like, oh geez, please attack me with both your things here. Are we gonna get him with Rise of the Challenge? Yeah! Got him with Rise to the Challenge. We have risen to the Ruby Wild Challenge and crushed the Benvolio opponent. Alright, sweet. We've been playing this for about an hour. I think we're going to pivot